Hi guys, FM Campbell here. If you've seen the previous episode, I explained what I was going to do in this episode. There's no specific specialised date for this. It's not an end of a transfer window. It's not the end of a season or anything like that, or a live game. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a live sort of playthrough of a Regen day that obviously happens in the game. Obviously, this is the Man United save and things like that, so you'll probably see players that you'll think, oh my god, they're amazing, or they might be terrible. I haven't looked yet. This is literally as far as I've got, and I've started recording, so what you can see now is all I've seen so far. If you do see players that are amazing and you don't get them at your club, don't worry, it's because Man United's youth intake system is quite a good level. So if we go over to the club, for example, and then we look at the facilities, you'll see the junior coaching is exceptional junior coaching and extensive youth recruitment. You can increase this, and I probably should have asked to double check to ask. Yes, I should have asked this anyway. Oh no, I can only cut back. So my youth recruitment is pretty much at its top level at the moment, or that's available to me. The better that is, the better chance you have of getting better or more advanced youth recruitment or regens coming through. I think this can also be increased by your head of youth development, and I think it links a little bit with your scouting, but don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. So if we get into it, we'll go. So Man United announced new intake of youth players, and you've got a list of names here. If you've played FM regularly, you know what all this is already, so you can ignore this bit if you want to. Conti, who is my head of youth development, Bruno Conti, he's picked out that Ben Cohen is one of the better players in the squad. So if we look at the youth intake, these are based on your assistant reports down here, your star ratings. So in agreement with Bruno Conti, Ben Cohen is the better of the players. It doesn't look too bad for a centre-back. Natural fitness is a massive concern, especially for it could be injury prone, especially adding to that would not help. But he looks okay. 15-year-old, you can work with him. But yeah, you'll get a star rating of the players down here. Unfortunately, me looking at this now, I'm not too happy with that as a youth intake. I'd like at least a 4, maybe a 4.5 star player in there. If I show you the under-18 squad, this is someone I got previously. You may have seen in other episodes. So I've had him a year now to the day. Robert van den Hoogenband, bit of a name. Looking at that, I don't even need to tell you that he's Dutch. Right back, and he's awesome. He's just so good. 16 years old, and I mean he's 1.5 star already in comparison to my current right back, who's Gino Peruzzi, who I think is only 3 star. So he's half the player Gino Peruzzi is 16 years old. So he's going to be a beast of a player in the future. So keep an eye out for him in future episodes. But we'll go back to the youth candidates. So what I'll look at now is I will listen to my assistant, but I do go through them one by one. Ben Cohen, obviously, he doesn't look too bad, so I mean I'll approach to sign him. You just give him, I mean he's going to moan. It's a hot prospect, let's offer him that. He's happy with that. And I'll basically go through these one by one. Excuse me. So on these guys here, I'm just going on the basis that my assistant manager thinks that they're not too bad. 2 stars, 2-star potential isn't really something I'm looking at. But this guy doesn't look too bad. I mean, as a wing back, I don't play wing backs, but I'll retrain him as a left back. But then tackling's only 5. But a lot of this can increase as they get older. But yeah, so this is like the more the admin type bit. Like he doesn't look too bad at all. This guy here, Dennis Short. Just were to ignore. Kind of ignore, well his technical's terrible, but ignore your assistant because his mental's not too bad, but his determination's there to work with, but his physicals are very good. 1.5 stars, am I going to look to have him? Probably not. A lot of people just sign them all. I don't like to because I think they're just a pain in the backside going forward. So Lee Marsh, as a winger, dribbling's okay. His mental's pretty poor, he's a star, I'll probably ignore him. But yeah, a lot of people are probably watching this thinking, Tom, just sign them all. So what are you doing? Like, they could be worth money in the future. Honestly, it's not worth the waste of time. And going through, getting them out on loan, and then the moaning about wages and it affecting the squad. So this guy, right, you look at him, you think, oh, he's not too bad, something to work with. Finishing at 8, he's half a star, but half a star player, he's not too bad. Also, a lot of the time when you offer these a contract, your youth candidates a contract, they can sometimes actually come through and all of a sudden their star rating's a little bit better. I think this is based on just sort of like first look and performances. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I'll offer them 4. The others I'll let go. So, I mean, you can keep hold of them if you want to, but I tend to just select them all and terminate their trials, so I don't get the club moaning at me about, oh, you need to approach to sign these players and that and the other. But yeah, so I'm going to bring in 4. They'll join my under-18 squad, which is pretty small, to be honest with you, at the moment. I've got 3 players in the squad, and the rest are either out on loan or linked with it. I mean, the 21s they're all out on loan. This is just me trying to save money, but you get the idea of, probably if you've seen previous episodes, of how I run. Going forward then, right, so you've done your own team. Now what I'll tend to do is I will, obviously today is the England update. I'll put in the description all the different dates of all the different Regen days. What I tend to do, if I go to myself and I go to my notebook, is I create a notebook like this, which is sets a reminder for you. So every time there's a Regen date coming, the day before, I will just send myself a note saying, Tom, on the 8th of March, well, this one comes through on, is it the 8th? Yeah, so this one comes through on first thing on the 8th of March. So then the Croatia, France, Germany, Russia and Scotland, the clubs in these countries will have their Regen players come through. I believe I've just missed the Germany and France update, stupidly. I think because I was rushing to get through to do this one. But I can go and check them. They probably won't have signed for their clubs just yet. There's still 4 days. Or have I? I think I did. Yes, I did actually. Yeah, sorry. So then obviously I've got the England one that's come through. So I know now that the clubs in England have all had their youth candidates come through. So obviously Man City, because I'm United, there's no point in me even trying to sign them. We'll go to Chelsea, we'll go to the under-18 squad, and you see these players with the youth icon next to their name. A lot of them are approaches. Some of them aren't. Some of them are. Look at him, he's decent. So for instance, if we look at Robin O'Hara, he's an approach to sign, and I'll probably have to get him. Well, unlikely from Chelsea, but you get the idea. So I will then go through these. This is quite the tedious bit. Previous FMs, based on your scouting knowledge, you could just go on player search, and you could go age is at most 16, and English, and it will bring up absolutely everyone. But I mean, it will in England, which is quite lucky, but in the lower clubs you have to be careful. But when you go abroad, I mean, for instance, we've just seen the Germany one's been through. So you think about how many German players have come through Regens. I mean, these have just come up as players that I've scouted. So these are players that I've found or approached to sign, or they're on my shortlist. And that's it. That's literally it. I mean, there's probably about 50 there. But I can guarantee you there's probably about 600 in Germany at least that have come through. So you can't always find them in this player search. So a lot of people do forget this. So what you would have to do is you would have to go to clubs and you would have to go through these one by one. I mean, let's see if we can find one that's available on approach to sign. I don't think there is any. I think they've all signed their contracts now. Yeah, they've all signed their contracts, I think. But yeah, you get the idea. So you'd have to go through this club one by one. Similar to what I'm going to have to do now in England. Rivals, probably best to avoid them. So as United, there's no point in me going to look at City, Liverpool, Leeds as well. There's no point in me going to look at them. You can check out your rivals, by the way, if you want to, in your information page. Fierce rivals, Liverpool, Man City and Leeds. Other rivals are Arsenal, Bolton and Chelsea. So I'm probably not going to be able to get players from them clubs. But yeah, so what I'd do now is I would go through the Premier League and then go through the leagues depending on how far down. Sometimes, I mean, you can get the idea of what clubs provide the best youth intake, or have the best youth intake. One to always look at, it's just general knowledge really. Southampton are normally very, very good for this. So you can go to Southampton's under-18 squad and you can go through these, and they sometimes turn out to be quite good. And then the same, if you want to go lower league, I know Crewe has a good one, Crewe Alexandra. Who else down low has quite good youth intake? I'm not too sure. It's all just of West Ham. West Ham are still in this league. West Ham have good youth intake. So do Aston Villa sometimes. Arsenal do. Chelsea always do. Man United tend to vary, as you've seen. I mean, I've got an absolute worldie of a player last year, but no one really in this one. So let's go down to the Sky Bet Championship. Leicester, not too bad. Crystal Palace can bring some good ones through. But yeah, so you get the idea. So then I'll go, well, when I've done the Premier League, for example, I'll then go through and I'll do lower clubs. Roughly normally to about League 2 level, and I'll just check out what's going on, and I'll just go through these one by one. I mean, I've seen him, Eric Abbey, he's a Regen, obviously 16 years old, and he looks terrible, so I wouldn't even bother with him. Now, one thing I would suggest is what you do is when you find a player, I mean, I've got to find one now. So let's go back to the Premier League, and let's find one in Southampton. There's bound to be one. Under 18s. So we'll look at their strikers here. So we've got Mick Hamilton. He looks pretty poor, so we won't go for him. Alan Durrell, he doesn't look too bad. See, now what I'll do is, he's 15 years old, really young. The younger they are, the better. There's 14-year-olds as well that you can get. His physical's all there already pretty much, but he's only 15, so that's going to increase. His mental's not too bad, but with that work rate and that determination, I'm really happy. As a striker, his finishing is 12. So what we've got, first touch 8. What else have we got? His penalty taking is 9. His technique could do a little improvement, but you get the idea, and you just basically look at these players of how either you're going to play them, or what position you're going to play them in, or how they're actually doing for the position that they're currently playing. So for instance, his dribbling is 11 and he can play on the wing, but his crossing's 4. So he could be an inside forward, but he's never going to be a winger because he can't cross. But what I'll do is I would scout him, obviously. So let's get Jim Lawler to scout him, for example. That's not going to come through straight away. Now, you don't want to miss out on this player. It's just an example. So I would approach to sign him. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to speak to me, which is a little bit of a pain. But I would scout him, approach to sign him. Then if he comes back with a good report, I always listen to my assistant manager in these situations. But you can get others to other staff members to check it out. And then depending on whether they're good or not, whether they get a good report or not, you can either cancel the deal or continue with the deal. It's just that simple. So let's see if we can find another one. Tell you what, let's go to a lesser club than Southampton, even though they're bloody in 17th place. That's West Ham. Then again, West Ham players tend to be quite loyal, so they're sometimes tough to get out of the club. So we've got, who's this? Paul Gordon, doesn't look too bad. Abina Obona, what a name. Darren Povey, no. So this guy here looks pretty decent. Oh no, I've already gone for him. Last year, he's not actually he's last year's Regen. So these are all, this is basically what I do. Let's go through, so he doesn't look too bad at all. This guy here, Richard Preston, his physical could do with some work, but he looks like, even if he could try and make money. So I'd approach to sign him. Again, he doesn't want to speak to me. Is there anyone that wants to speak to me? This is how you can tell it's live. Aston Villa. Let's look at the under-18 squad. What we got going on? Andy Watt, no. Tony White. Well, I'm just going to do it for example. So I'll approach to sign him. He'll want to speak to me. Unfortunately, we're going to have to pay. Remember, you always have to pay compensation. It's normally between the 500 mark and the 1 million mark. especially in England, you're going to pay above what they normally would ask for if they come to your club. But what you'd do is you'd suggest your terms, he'll accept them. You can throw money at these players if you want to. Just say in 20 games time I'll pay you 40 grand a week. You're never going to pay him for the 20 games by the time that you have to offer him a new contract, really. But what you then do is you'll scout him, simply like that, process sign him, you suggest the terms, and then you finalise the deal. So he's now coming to me. Transfer story's leaked. But then when I continue, I'll get a scout report back off Tony White, depending on whether he's good or not. Personally, I don't think he is, but some may differ. Some people might disagree. I will then either cancel it or carry on the deal, and it's just that simple. For now, I'm going to withdraw that because I don't want him. Excuse me. But yeah, that's how it works. That's how I do it. Unfortunately, we've not had a great intake. So as our youth candidates. There are various other ways of finding them rather than going through them one by one. But I like to go through them one by one just because I know I'm viewing all the players. And just keep an eye out and you'll get to see a pattern of who gets the best regens come through. For instance, you saw Southampton had a really, really good one. West Ham tend to, like I said, Crew as well in lower leagues. But yeah, and you can go as far down in the lower leagues as you want, really. You can sometimes find a really bit of a worldie in the really low down leagues. But yeah, so that's how I do it. I hope this has been informative. I have got a youth intake video that literally covers everything in every little bit of detail and all the information you need to know. I'll link that in the description if you want to check that out as well. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's how I work. So I'm now going to get into this and I'm going to have a little bit of a scout around and try and see if I can find some players, and you'll see who I sign, if I sign anyone, in the next episode. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all your feedback. A lot of people are starting commenting now. But yeah, I really do appreciate it. And I'll speak to you guys soon. Cheers.